Good morning, or good, well, it's good after, well, it's still good morning. It's 11:28 a.m. Sunday morning, August the 17th, 2025, and I'm on my way to Victoria, Texas, but I have to go through my old hometown, Kenedy, Texas, Kenedy, one N, Kenedy, Texas. I grew up there. I graduated from high school in 1963, and yeah, it was just a small rural town, agriculture, a little oil and gas, but just past the lake on this farm to market road I'm headed to Kenedy on, and it was called Haley's Lake, and that used to be the spot in the summer, for those that had boats and stuff. We'd go out and water ski and stuff, but I never was real good at it because my parents didn't have a boat. But anyway, it was a fun place to go and swimming and stuff. And but on this road here, coming from Kenedy to the lake, one, I guess, weekend day, there was a car driven by a fellow named Claude. I won't mention his last name. Young guy, 16 years old, whatever. And he had some of the high school girls with him and maybe another guy, I'm not sure. And one of those girls that was in that car was Dana. That was my old girlfriend, or when I say girlfriend, I mean we were just friends, but she was pretty. And anyway, but they missed a turn right down here. I think it may be coming up to it here in a minute, but I don't remember exactly where it was. But anyway, it was a hell of a bad accident. He flipped the car, and I don't think, no one was killed, but they all ended up in the hospital with broken bones. Dana had a broken leg, and I got to go sign her cast and all that stuff. But again, this is my old home stomping grounds, and yeah, we'll let this go for a while because we're a few minutes out of town. We're about 5 miles out of Kenedy, Texas, on this road that winds around through all over. And but yeah, we'll just kind of check it out, and I'll talk about growing up here in the 1950s. Why? Because I ain't got nothing else to do, and hopefully it doesn't fuzz up. I cleaned the windshield. Yeah, it says Kenedy 5 miles. And but yeah, I got most of the bugs off. I didn't have a scraper, so I just had to use a paper towel. Did pretty good. But anyway, yeah, in the 50s and the 60s, this was my whole world. There was nothing outside of this. You talk about the flat earth theory. He's blinking his lights. There must be a policeman down there or something. Or maybe there's an accident. But anyway, I'll slow down a little bit. I'm only going 54, so. Oh, I see. There's a truck stopped in the road. Okay. Yeah, thank you, fella. It was awful nice of him. But anyway, yeah, it's all oil and gas now. This is kind of a boom area in Texas right now, and has been for a while. And they've been doing a lot of drilling and stuff because of the fracking stuff, I'd say he's definitely dead in the water here. Yep. Oops. But anyway, back to living in Kenedy and growing up. It was small town America, I mean, we were just country hicks. I was. And of course, as I've mentioned in some of the other videos, the difference between the kids that grew up in the country and the kids that grew up in town, it was like light years. They knew all kind of games and stuff, and most of them knew how to dance and crap. Hell, us country hicks, we didn't know any of that crap. We'd never been anywhere. But anyway, there was a dance hall out here. I don't think we'll go by it. The road has kind of changed, and but it was called Lynn's, L-E-N, Lynn's Hall, and a place to go on the weekends, or Saturday night or Sunday night, and dance. And that was a big deal back in the late 50s, early 60s, because we'd go to dances all over everywhere. There was Lynn's Hall, Cotton Patch, Weesatch, Lindenau, and others, but we'd go to them, and the dances usually started around 9 and they ended at 12 or 1 o'clock. And then you haul it back home. But, you drink beer while you were there and stuff. And Yeah, it was just kids having fun. I don't know if y'all remember guys wearing what they call ducktails. You remember the fawns? But we had that in Kenedy, Texas. We also had a drugstore very similar to the one that was in that uh, TV series. And yeah, it was called Seller's Drugstore. It had a little uh, bar looking thing with those little round stools and some booths where you sat. It was just like the old that movie or that series on TV with the fawns and all of them, Happy Days or whatever it was. But but no, it was like that. I mean, you could go in there and get a banana split or a chocolate malt and all that stuff. And I don't know what happened to chocolate malts. I guess you can still get them. And but it was that way. It was, of course, the kids in town had bicycles and crap. I didn't have a bicycle until I was, well, way older. I mean, I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 when I finally got my first bike. Then a year and a half later, I got a Cushman Eagle motor scooter, so I stepped way up. But that Cushman Eagle, I went all over this area. I can still see myself cruising along here on that little red 8 horsepower Cushman Eagle. And boy, I'm telling you, the world was my oyster, and I mean oyster. I mean, I was enjoying the hell out of this, and yeah. But we lived on a farm. We had crops and hogs and cattle and not cows. We had a few cows, and we didn't have a horse, any of that, because horse was kind of that was a toy for somebody, a rich person, But anyway, of course, I could take my Cushman Eagle and go to school, and later on, later on I took the family car. I kind of took it over, a 1954 Ford, and yeah. But in my graduating class in 1963, there were 60 people. That tells you how big the town was. Population of Kenedy right now is 3,296, according to that sign. And back when, it was probably 1,000 less, But again, mostly rural, a lot of agriculture stuff. And this is, this road here, if I'd have turned the other way, goes to a little town called Pawnee, Pawnee, Texas. But up here on the left, they've got a big HEB. None of that this was all blank. There was nothing on either side of the road when I grew up. Nothing. This was country. This was crops. Okay, and yeah, gasoline's $2.57 a gallon here, which is HEB, which is not bad. They built that big HEB because of the oil boom. Here to the right, this used to be Pace's Texaco station right here. All right, and it was there for years, a landmark. But at this intersection one time, there was a gasoline truck that swerved to avoid a car and flipped over, and the big gas tank ended up right over there. I remember it perfect because I drove up down on the other side over there on my scooter, and they were, telling everybody to get away because they thought it was going to blow up. Fire trucks, but they were trying to get the area clear because of the potential for an explosion. And sure enough, it did explode, and by God, it was a hell of an explosion. I mean, it carved in my mind like stone, because I was I parked my scooter about right here on the right side of the road, and when it blew up, by God, it got old Rusty's attention. But just to show you how fluky things can happen, they have the big wheel. Whenever they take or detach a trailer from a big truck, they have a thing under. They call it the fifth wheel thing, the wheels that hold the trailer up. And they're very heavy. But anyway, the gasoline tanker had flipped over, and those wheels were facing upward. Well, when it exploded, it blew those wheels straight up in the air. All right, I remember seeing them. Boom. It was like amazing. I was thinking, but it didn't look like it was going to bother me, so I just kind of didn't even think about it. Well, the next day, I found out that Coach Blumstead, young guy in his 20s, his wife was outside hanging clothes, and that thing came down and cut her head off. You hear me? That is such a fluky accident. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, well, Coach Blumstead kind of went nuts. He started drinking heavy, and doing all kind of crazy, stupid stuff. This is downtown Kenedy, Texas. I could tell 2 hours of stories right here. But anyway, so she died, and he went nuts. There's the bank that used to be called First Nichols National, and that was Seller's Drugstore right there. And then there was another drugstore here on the corner called Ballard's, and then there was a Western Auto over here. But now we're going through town, and I could go on around town and showing you a bunch of stuff. But the point is, it was just a typical small hick town, and I was part of it. And but I enjoyed it. I mean, when we were kids, we'd go all over town playing war, fighting battles, and we had BB gun wars and stuff. And you weren't supposed to shoot above the waist, and we honored that. Well, sometimes we didn't. Well, we did what we did. We tried, okay. But anyway, so yeah, this road wasn't here, or didn't exist when I was growing up. This road was built since then, because see, up here you can't hardly see it, but there's a big hill up here on the right. Well, not big hill; it's a hill. But it's called Ruman Hill, and one of the wealthy families that basically kind of ran the town because they ran the bank. They lived up on that hill in a compound. There was like 2 or 3 houses there, and yeah. But it's that way in every town, city, whatever, all over the world. It's not new. And but be that as it may, those were fun times for me. And yeah, I mean, I grew up in a rich environment of, we got into trouble, but it was minor crap. We didn't rob anybody or mug anybody or that kind of crap. We'd play like Halloween prank stuff on them. We'd put a dead chicken on their doorstep and ring the doorbell, and just silly crap like that. And but yeah, all of this out here was just good old farming, ranch land stuff. And but anyway, I'm running out of steam already. But what else can I think of? But again, it was just a difference. And I lived a different life than the young people that lived in town. My life was out in the country, and I had to feed hogs and take care of animals and do chores and all kind of stuff. And I remember hearing them complain, if they had to mow the grass, or take the trash out. My God, I'd have, shoot, give me that damn mower. Jeez, you go feed the hogs, and all that other crap, But anyway, we got to go to a town up here called Charco, Charco. And that's where the San Antonio River kind of comes around there, and there's a swimming hole there we used to go to. I think it's called Baker's Park. That's what we called it. It really wasn't a park, just a mud hole, and the water was so filthy. That's why I'm immune to everything. It's kind of like George Carlin swimming in the Hudson River. Same thing. If you can do that and survive, you'll be immune to everything for the rest of your life, and it was that way there. And but yeah, we did the usual stuff, and there was kids that lived out here. I remember some of them. I don't remember their names now because it's been so long ago. But anyway, so we're just cruising along here while I reminisce, and it's fun. I haven't been through here in a while, and it's good to just think out loud or vent out loud, whatever you want to say. Yeah. But yeah, off to the right, way right, about 3 miles down this road up here is the cemetery for Kenedy. And yeah, that's where my parents are buried. Okay, in Kenedy there, and my grandmother and my grandfather. And yeah, they're all there waiting for the resurrection, I guess. But be that as it may, today is Sunday, August the 17th at 11:42. I've been on the road 3 hours and 55 minutes. Why don't we just call that 4, okay? and then we've got another full hour to get to Victoria, Texas, to the RV park. And I'll be there 2 or 3 days. Just and is it warm? Yeah, it's 94, and it's probably pretty damn humid. It's not. It's more humid here than it is in Brackettville, Fort Clark Springs. It's about twice as much actually, and it's a little uncomfortable for me down here. I didn't notice it when I was growing up. We didn't have an air conditioner at all, you know, until, well, after my grandmother died. My daddy sold the home place. He sold the house where the house was and 50 acres, and then we moved into. It was just me. I was the only kid left at home at that time. Moved into. I was still going to high school, and we moved into the house, grandma's house in town, and then me, when I graduated in 1963, that summer, Bill Davis was a builder, and I was his helper, and together we built a garage apartment, a 3-bedroom garage apartment with a restroom, and then a downstairs area for a laundry room for mother and stuff, and a breezeway between the two houses, so they were connected. Oh, it was really nice, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I spent a lot of probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months working on that, and then I got a job, seismograph, and then I left home at that time, and then a few years later got drafted, and that was the end of this world forever here, you know. And yeah, but it's just, as you can see or have seen, it's a mesquite tree, mesquite brush, farmland type stuff, and it was just a hell of a free life. We'd go hunting. That was a big deal. I had a 22 single shot that belonged to my grandfather. Lever action, one long rifle at a time, and but I was a pretty good shot. I could hit a rabbit at 2 feet. I mean, I wasn't Buffalo Bill or whoever, But yeah, it was, and we'd go dove hunting. There were no seasons when I grew up. No, if you wanted to go dove hunting, you had some shotgun shells, we'd go dove hunting right now, But there were no white winged dove here. They're a little bigger dove. That's on down around George West and Three Rivers in that area. None of there's a few that get mixed in here every now and then. But be that as it may, guys, on the road again, reminiscing about the good times, or what I thought were the good times, and still appear to me to be the good times, growing up in small town Kenedy, Texas. And yeah, I remember when we went, they had what was called the old high school that was in downtown Kenedy. They called it the old high school, and the reason was that was it became the elementary school. And I remember they built the new high school, and I was dreading leaving the 8th grade and becoming a freshman, a 9th grader, and having to go to the new high school, because it was like 2 levels, and it was frightening. And then, of course, back then they had initiation. The freshmen were initiated. The seniors paint you all up with stuff, make you eat garlic and do all kind of crazy crap, put shit in your hair, but that was, we had an initiation. They finally got rid of it because it kind of got out of hand. But, I'll give you one thing they did to this girl named Janice. She was a pretty young girl. She was a freshman in my class, and we had an own stage of it. The auditorium was full of people, and a lot of the freshmen were called up on the stage for different tricks they pulled on them. And the one they did on Janice was they blindfolded her and set her in a chair, and they brought out a wash tub full of ice, okay, or pretty well had ice in it, maybe 6 inches of ice in it, you know what I mean? And anyway, they said, okay, they told Janice that they were going to cram her feet down on this broken glass. They told her that the tub was full of broken glass. And she's, oh, no, no, please don't, please don't. You know, and I thought everybody was just kind of playing. I didn't know there was not glass in there. Nobody told me. And anyway, they took her, picked her up, and then crammed her feet down on that ice, and she fainted. I thought she was dead. I thought, shit, you killed her. You know, if you want to kill one, kill an ugly one, but don't kill a pretty one. We don't have that many. You know, shit. You know, yeah. But no, that was crazy. Yeah, they did all kind of stuff. They had all kind of. But those things were passed down from one group to another. When I became a senior, I did the same thing. You know, I painted them up and did all the crap. I was just as vicious as they were. But anyway, having said that, guy, thumbs up, carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Use the Amazon link if you're going to buy something from Amazon. Drink plenty of water, stretch, walk, stand guard at the door of your mind. And there were some good times in your life somewhere. Think about them and enjoy them. So, yeah, adios, amigos. Bye-bye.